Alright, so there was a topic we spoke about, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago, which was just someone telling their story, but it ended up having certain repercussions. Some people who were involved in said story, not spoken about nor mentioned by names, were offended, and then we got asked to take that video down. And my response was no, because it's still up. Go watch it, thanks. Because the whole idea of this was to create a forum, a community where people told their stories and were honest and open, and this is a safe space to do that. And then hopefully that would connect with some people who were going through the same thing, because if one of us has gone through it, it's more than likely that one of you have gone through it. And then that got me into the idea of our next topic, which is victim shaming. And as a society, as humans, are we as understanding as we would like to think we are? And are people afraid to tell the stories about what they've been through because they might be silenced, shunned, not believed, etc.? And I just wanted to open that up as a subject.
I think it's an insecurity, personally, speaking on personal experience. Until I was ready to talk about certain things in my life, I was very insecure about them, that they were very put in a closed box. And when you do get to that point where you speak about things, you almost feel liberated. And then there's people that don't want you to discuss things that you might be ready to talk about. They might not be ready to talk about it because they're still dealing with their insecurities and their demons.
So can I ask a question? If someone had come to you talking about a similar situation that you've been through, but before you were ready to talk about it, would that have made you be like, I don't want to talk about it? Or would it have been okay for them to talk about it?
100% I'd be okay to talk about it. I've spoken about certain things that have happened in my life with my friends, and it's fine, but some things, you talk about it on a larger scale, or publicly, for example, I think it's 2 different things. But I would never ever shut down one of my friends if they came to me and wanted to talk about things that I'm possibly dealing with. I would never be like, oh, I don't talk about that, it reminds me of myself, because that's selfish and that makes me not a very good friend. I would always...
But do you think a lot of people are as aware as you are? Do you think people might... Because most people, or I think people should do a lot of self-reflection, look at how you are as a person, but maybe not everyone does that. So maybe when you come to me talking about X, Y, Z, and I'm actually dealing with that myself, but I don't know necessarily that troubles me, so then when you come to me to talk about it, I'm like, why are you talking about this madness? Keep quiet, kind of thing. Do you see what I mean? So rather than me actually know that, forget how it's making me feel, let me help you with it. Maybe what I'm doing is I'm reflecting on myself and then pushing you away for it or shunning you for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't think I would ever I wouldn't be upset if you did that to me.
Oh yeah, but I try not to, But obviously maybe you don't know it.
Yeah.
So maybe then inadvertently I'd be like, I'd play down what you're telling me without knowing that the reason I'm doing that is because I don't want to address it. So then for you, that's me telling you, no, what you're saying is wrong, or no, so I'm saying to you, no, calm down, what's your problem, kind of thing. But what I'm trying to do is tell myself, it's not as bad as it seems, because I'm actually really stressed about it, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
so I reckon people probably do that quite a bit, if that makes sense.
I'm definitely aware of what I share and with who, and I'm aware of possibly making someone uncomfortable with if I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And so I'm quite conscious about who I share my struggles with. And even my very best friends, sometimes I feel like I don't want to share how my struggles. And that's probably more to do with me and not them. But it's interesting. I am aware of not making someone else uncomfortable from me going through something.
Yeah.
I think if victims are created from a situation that affects like a community, the shame might come from the community feeling shame themselves. Like, why are you presenting yourself as a victim when this is what our community does?
Okay,
Do you know what I'm saying?
Such as...
Like, I don't want to talk about a particular situation, but if it's, just say you've got a group of people who all live with a certain behaviour,
Yeah.
and someone stands up and says, this behaviour has hurt me and I want to stand up against it. Everyone who's still involved with that behaviour might then victim shame that person because they are still in that community. They might not want to leave. They might want to still identify it because they embrace it as this is who we are, this is how we've always done it. Why are you bringing shame upon us? So that's how I'm kind of thinking.
Maybe not
that's
bringing
why.
shame upon us, but highlighting the shame.
Or
Do you
maybe
see what I mean?
they
Because say I'm in the community and you're in the community and both of us don't like whatever's the action is, but you stood up and said this is wrong. Now I might turn and say to you, sit down and keep quiet, not because necessarily I don't agree with what you're saying, but because I don't have the guts to get up and do it myself. It's going to cause a problem. Then everyone's going to, if they know it's happened to you, they're all going to know it's happened to me. Like, or do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So rather than, so it might not even be the people who are doing that action, it might be the other victims that are like, stop it, because you highlighting your crap highlights mine. Do you see what
But
I mean?
then, leading on from that, would you have your Rosa Parkses? Would you have your Martin Luther Kings?
No,
If
I
everyone's feeling this way, and then the one person that's about to stand up and say something so you can make a change, you then shame that person into silence, that person who is trying to help you and themselves, that just doesn't
it doesn't make sense.
compute to
Yeah,
me.
but it doesn't make sense until I say what I've just said, which is, but now you're highlighting my stuff and I don't want that highlighted. So I agree with you, you wouldn't have those people and you need those people.
But you
I'm
do
saying
want to
other
highlight
people.
it.
No, but I don't because I'm
You do,
ashamed.
you don't, but
I
you
do,
do.
but I don't. Do you see what I mean?
You don't, but you do.
So then, for me, it might be easier for me to, obviously not me personally, but I'm sort of playing devil's advocate. That
Yeah,
makes
no.
sense.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me, saying no, stop that. I do want it highlighted, but I don't want anyone to know. So it's easier for me to stand against you with everyone else than it is for me to stand up with you. So I've got a choice to make, and maybe my shame puts me on the wrong side of where I should be, if that makes sense.
I used to be like that, and as I've grown into a mature woman, I've realised that everybody has their own opinions, and I think as human beings, it comes down to what we spoke about last time, and love each other and respect an individual's response. Like, there's situations in my past where someone said something and I thought, whoa, don't want to talk about that, and I'll just completely switch off from the person. But now, I won't, it's not about me, it's about the conversation you have with the person about what they're talking about. So I think it's just embrace, talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to talk about it, but then it comes to the level of friendship that you have with that person, you know how far to go. Like what you said, similar, you know how far to go with the situation and what to talk about and what not to talk about. So it's a comfort zone and it's a respect.
Okay, but
for
let's
the
take it
other
out of just friendships and take it out into a bigger arena, if that makes sense.
person. Yeah.
So me and you talking about stuff, I know you don't ever want to hurt me because we're friends, and you know I don't ever want to hurt you because we're friends. But say we're out and someone says something to you about a situation that's yours because they don't like it themselves, but because
But that's their
Do you see-
opinion, and you have to respect that opinion.
but
Do
it
you know?
hurts you.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
That was a lesson that I learned because I was going through some stuff, and I think like I wasn't drinking for a little bit, and then I went out, and there was someone that I found attractive. But me, I'm very shy and I'll get very nervous. But they were with friends, so I was like, okay, cool. So if I'm cool with all their friends, then eventually like it'll work going back to them. And then after I'd had a couple of drinks, I was like,
Whatever.
sweet! So I started talking to them, and like, oh, you want to talk to me now that you've had a couple of drinks? So you've got a bit of are you drunk? And now you can, and they were making to this whole big issue, and I like felt so bad and like, oh my god, am I an alcoholic? Can I only speak to people when I'm
You're like, oh,
happening?
it's like, oh my god, I'm going crazy.
And then they were like, yeah, I don't drink anymore, I had a bit of it. And then 3 weeks later, I saw that person at a party where I was stone cold sober and they were drunk as hell. And then I knew that that whole situation was absolutely
yours,
nothing to do with me. It
their
was
problem.
their problem being not even reflected back at them, but they were seeing the demon in themselves that they didn't like and they were throwing that out on you. So sometimes it's unintentional that people are making you feel bad because they, as we were saying, are afraid to address something themselves.
Do you know what I would say to that? Sorry, it literally, a lot of the time it's that I only see things from my point of view. So what's happened in my past colours the way I'm going to see things, which is why I ask a lot of questions. I want to know your reason behind what you've done rather than just what you've done. Because for me, if I'd have done that, it would be because of this. But let me ask you why you did that, because maybe it's because of something else and you didn't actually intend to hurt me with it. Do you see what I mean? So rather than just know the act that hurt me, I want to know why you did it, because maybe we can get past that because you didn't mean to hurt me, and if I tell you it hurt me, maybe we can change that. Do you see what I mean?
I think that's an incredibly grown-up and responsible way to look at things, and that's how I look at things. But no, it look like it is.
It does.
And generally people share a lot with me.
Don't tell anybody what I told you.
Like, do you know how many people's secrets I've got in here? I ain't going nowhere, I'm a bowl. But no, people do just open up with me, and because you're not going to be judged.
Yeah.
No matter what you've done, whatever you've done, I will try and be as understanding and make you feel good about you.
Yeah.
Because you're already feeling bad about yourself. That's already the story you've got running around in your head. I don't need to become the person that comes and adds to that story. You're feeling bad, you're lying on the floor. Yeah, let me kick you and say go back on the floor. No, I'm gonna give you a hug,
Probably would.
lift you up.
Love you.
Don't fall on the floors now. No, but I'm gonna go over, I'm gonna give you a hug, I'm gonna pick you up and say we all fall down. Because everyone else is already stepping over you. And you're already stepping over yourself. So I'm not gonna add to that. Because that's just, I don't, it just doesn't compute in my head how.
I used to be quite
arrogant.
I used to be quite arrogant and maybe stuck up about it and thinking, oh, that person's crazy, like, get away from me, you're nuts. But as I've grown up and I've dealt with my demons and stuff, I've realised that I was that person and no one understood me. So for me, it's easier to, I don't know, I find it, if I talk to strangers and they talk about things that you wouldn't talk about on a regular thing, I try and embrace it as much as I can because I try and understand it from how I was and where I was. And sometimes it's nice to talk to a stranger and for them to talk about stuff, because sometimes it's harder for them to talk about things about people that are in their life or close to them, and not judge people. Like, I try my best not to judge people. It's not fair. People used to judge me all the time, and now that's why I find it easier to embrace people and how they are. And if I meet someone that's moody or cranky, I'm thinking, well, there must be something behind it, or there's a personality, or that's just you, and that's fine, and I respect the person for who they are. But if you're a total moron, I'm gonna punch you in the throat.
Literally.
I feel like I cut Emma there, so I'm going to ask Emma what she was going to say before.
Well, I feel like we're talking about two things. We're talking about sharing and then
sharing and then shaming and stopping it.
Victim shaming. So
Yeah.
what exactly is victim shaming? Because when you say that, what comes to mind is someone who has been victimized genuinely, and then there's a response either from sort of family, like the family system or tribe, you know, going, you're not playing the game anymore, or it's public shaming for being victimized. Is that
You get a lot of.
I think it's more getting it to a place of why don't people open up? And is that to do with them? Or is that to do with us? Now, I don't share a lot with a lot of people. And I know exactly where that comes from. And I still don't. As a child, I was bullied literally non-stop every single day for the best part of a decade. To the point where there were lunch times where as soon as the bell rang, I would run to this one geography, so I'm fast, like you can't catch me. I would run to this one geography room and I would sit under the windowsill by myself because I knew they wouldn't find me in there. And that's just because I was the different kid at school. I'm a child. I've not made any decisions. Kindly don't make those decisions for me. It got to a point where I would fight back, and then I started getting in trouble. And then when the teacher would ask me, oh, why did they do that? I'm like, there was no reason, I didn't do anything. Oh, well, you must have done something. I was like, no, there was no reason, I didn't do anything. And then I'd go home and tell my mum, who was just getting a call that her son has been suspended or he's gone into a fight. She's like, well, why did they do that? I'm like, what did you do? I'm like, I didn't do anything. And I told her, all the people who were meant to help you, I said, I didn't do anything. And they didn't believe me. And I genuinely didn't do anything. So the people who were meant to help you didn't. So
it must have been something you did.
Because it must have been something that I did. So that's why I've turned myself into a little island.
That's why it's all about you.
I will take care of myself because I don't put any trust in people to do that for me. And that I'm fine with, I'm cool with. But that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes maybe no one did something to them. Support that person who's trying to speak to you, who's trying to cry out. Because once that's gone, it's gone. But now if anyone does anything to me, I'm nonplussed.
And I guess that's the shaming is
Yeah.
you must
done
deserve
something.
this somehow.
You must
You
deserve
must have
that.
participated.
It must have been something that you did. Oh, you dressed like that, so they should have done this to you. Oh, they this. No, I was just being myself. And like that's why I trek it back to I was a child. So are you really gonna go to the point of telling a child that they did something to deserve that? No. You got issues.